Hi, welcome back to Teacher Interviews. I'm your host, Ayala Mayan, and we're here interviewing engineering teacher, Mr. Mark Miller. Here we have,
Mark Miller.
and can you say what your position is at the high school?
I am a science and engineering teacher here at St. Louis Park High School.
How long have you been teaching here at St. Louis Park?
27 or 28 years, kind of lost track.
What is your second job?
Second job, I work at Fleet Farm in Hastings.
How long have you been doing that?
I started at the beginning of the school year, so 8-ish, 9 months.
Okay. What are like some similarities that you find between working in school and working your second job?
Some of the similarities, it is, well, at least the role that I've kind of shifted into is working with a lot of younger kids. I think they've noticed that I have some skills as a teacher, so I'm starting to help train some new kids who are coming on the staff. Most of what I do is just help people. I work in the hardware department, so I help them find tools, different materials, supplies, and stuff like that that they need to fix whatever it is that they fix.
How do you balance having both of these jobs?
I am the type of person who likes to be on the move. I'm constantly trying to find something to do. So as far as balance goes, I usually work like 2 days a week, 2 nights. So like Mondays and Fridays, and then Saturdays and Sundays. And I don't know, balance is a relative term. I'd like to be busy. So with my kids not being home anymore, they're both at college now. It doesn't really seem to be a balancing act for me.
What made you choose like the specific second job that you have now?
Well, I really, I know that I knew that I wanted a job that basically required me to do nothing. As far as like take home, like being a teacher, there's always stuff to do at home. I wanted to find another job that I enjoyed. And like, so my first choice was Menards. But they weren't really hiring or they weren't being as flexible with time. So Fleet Farm is very similar. And so I chose Fleet Farm because I knew that I could get a job in hardware. And it was, I think the key is that it was nothing to take home. I just wanted a job that I could go help people stock shelves, learn new stuff, interact with new people. And Fleet Farm has been super, super accommodating to my schedule. So.
Does your second job affect teaching at all? And like, if it does, how so?
So as far as like the time commitment, no, but I think it has, it's opened my eyes to some things. Like the first question, right? All I've done for the last, well, not all, but my job has been for like the last 27 or 28 years is teaching. And I think I have a really good understanding of what the job takes to be a teacher. But being out in like the public or the private sector, like working a job and seeing how it's very different than education, but also has its similarities, I think it's given me another perspective. It also has opened my eyes to skills that people need entering the job force. And some of the skills that I've seen young kids come in, like actual high school kids from Hastings, come in and make it for like a couple weeks and then they just disappear. And just talking to those kids and really getting kind of their perspective, why they don't like the job, what they're struggling with, has really kind of opened my eyes to maybe some things in education that we do need to do a better job of. So I don't think it's, as far as sleep and stuff like that, I don't sleep anyway, so it doesn't impact me there. But I definitely think that it is giving me another perspective that helps me be a better teacher, because if all I do is teach, it limits my perspective. So I think in that capacity, Fleet Farm has really opened my eyes to some stuff.
And so, going off of how you said that it has opened up your eyes to some stuff, like what's like specific lessons like or like insights have you like learned, or like how are you or do you implement that into your teaching, and like how do you do that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a fair question. I think that one of the most obvious things, and this isn't going to be like earth shattering, is a lot of the young kids that I work with really struggle with their cell phones. Like you round the corner of an aisle and they're on their, and again, not all kids do this. But 2 or 3 of the kids at Fleet Farm, like they're no longer there because they can't put their phones down. I think another thing that I've noticed is just taking the initiative to do things on your own. Outside of school, when you get a job, at some point they just expect you to know what the routines are and do them. And I find myself really good at that. We have an app at Fleet Farm that basically gives you a checklist of things to do every single day. I love checklists, right? And I notice a trend with some of the kids at Fleet Farm that it's like, have you checked the Think Time app yet? Oh no. What have you been doing for 2 hours? I also think it's really interesting to see like management and how even management lacks the skills to train new employees. And I think as an old guy who really doesn't care, I just tell them. Like the reason that we're losing kids and we're losing employees is because the training sucks. And just I take it back to my seniors, especially of like, you got to be willing to, in order to be successful outside of school, like you have to be willing to ask questions. And I'm more than willing to ask questions because I think it takes a certain confidence and just the fact that it's a second job. So like, it's not like my only job. So I really don't care if I look like a complete fool. I just ask like, why aren't we doing this? Why do we use this? Why are we doing it this way? And I think that's the other piece that I'm trying to encourage my students to do. Like, I know we say all the time, there's no stupid question. Like there really is no stupid question. Like you have to ask if you don't know, because if you don't ask and then you don't do something, potentially you're either opening the door for someone else or you're going to lose your job, because when it comes time for a review, they're going to sit down with you and go, we see you sitting at the paint booth, right? Hours on end, not doing anything. There's things to be done. So I think it's been eye-opening to me just to see how some people are just not willing to ask questions.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's really cool. What are some like your favorite things about having a second job, or about like your specific job at Fleet Farm?
I love the discount, not gonna lie. But honestly, I love interacting with people outside of education, people who are coming with questions. I mean, Fleet Farm is like an official job, but like I do so many other jobs, as do so many other teachers. I know this is an official job, but like I do home maintenance, home renovations, landscaping. I coached for years, right? All of those are jobs as well that I think, again, you could be interviewing a whole bunch of other teachers who coach, which again, to me is another part-time job. It's just not Fleet Farm. I think, what was the question? I forgot, brain fart.
What are some of your favorite things about having a second job?
Again, the people, like the customers who come in. I love talking to people about like, I'm trying to fix this. How would you do that? What tool would you like? I just love interacting with the people.
And I know you're able to make some connections with like education and like the kids that you work with. How about like with like the adults? Like, do you find anywhere that you can connect like with your job here at the high school and at Fleet Farm with like the other adults at your work?
Yeah, I think one thing that I notice at Fleet Farm is it's kind of interesting because most of my bosses at Fleet Farm are probably 20 years younger than I am. And I can tell that they know that I'm a teacher. And so they definitely use me as a resource, which I told them I don't want to do. Like, I don't want to be I don't want to be turned into a trainer. I don't want that extra level of responsibility at Fleet Farm. I want to just like stock shelves, help people find stuff. But I think one of the connections that I've had, especially with like my bosses at Fleet Farm, is they're willing to ask me questions as well. Like, hey, we're bringing on this new guy, can you help me with this? How would you do this differently than when you came on board? So I think, again, it's just like opening the doors. If I'm willing to ask lots of questions of them, then they're willing to ask lots of questions of me. And I think just being open and honest and willing to be like a team player it just opens doors. And that's, I think, again, like both of you guys as athletes, like you know that being part of a team requires like a willingness to, hey, I'm going to pick you up today. I can tell that you're dragging, or I can tell that you're overwhelmed right now because we're going to, the big bosses are coming, next, on Saturday, and all of this stuff needs to be done. They know they can count on me. And I think that's it's another thing that I've noticed is just like a willingness to take one for the team. And hey, you know what? I'm going to skip my break, and I'm going to make sure that all of these signs are perfect because tomorrow, Fleet Farm Hastings is under review. So I think that's it's an interesting relationship that's very different than here at the high school, because I think so many times teachers here in this building work in isolation. It's my classroom and it's only my classroom. I've been very fortunate here to work in the NTA, to work with the ninth grade program, to work in engineering where I'm working with a team of teachers. And there is whenever you work in a team, I think if you do it right, the end product is always better. And so I think the collaboration piece that I'm able to experience both here at the high school in working with teams of teachers and also at Fleet Farm, I think the end result is better.
Nice. Going back onto like the topic of schedules, like has it been frustrating grading, like dealing with grading and a second job, or like how is like grading like for like the engineering specific? How does that factor into also having time for your second job?
So the nice thing about engineering is it's very, very hands-on, and it's very problem-based, right? Like it takes me 2 seconds to grade a bridge that a student has made. Does it work? Like it either works or it doesn't. And most of my grading in there is more questioning. Like, well, why do you think that the bridge isn't holding the required mass? What can you do to make it better, right? And then ultimately my grading is, sweet, you guys finally figured it out. It works. You fulfilled the requirements of the bridge building, you get your grade. So at this point in my teaching career, grading is more about feedback than counting points, right? You did what I asked, right? You fulfilled the requirements. You used the right number of Legos. It does what it's supposed to do. Your grade is an A. So in that aspect, my grading is very, very straightforward, and it's not about the accumulation of points. It's meeting the goals of the assignment.
And for the last question, would you recommend having a second job to other teachers?
I think, if you can't do it, again, I'm at a point in my life where like my kids are in college. I'm an established teacher. I have the extra time. I like being busy, so it works for me during the school year. If not during the school year, I think if you can swing it, during the summer, see if you can pick up a part-time job, or just get yourself out there. Because I do think that I think education is going to change, and we as teachers need to embrace that change and recognize, what are those skills outside of kind of what the 46 graduate credits are that exist that are required for graduation. What are the other skills that kids really are going to need to have when they, after they walk across that stage, because there really is a real world. There really is, and I think it's changing very quickly. And college is so crazy expensive that if I, as a teacher, can go out and experience what the real world is like, and I can bring some of those insights back to students, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for teachers to bring that to the classroom. It's not going to work for everyone. I mean, if you have young kids, if you've got other things that you have to take care of at home, I'm not going to say that everyone should, but if you can, I think, yes, I think the benefits of working a second job or just getting yourself out there definitely brings benefit back to the students.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time. That is all that we have for
Awesome.
today.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.